quite simply, Frank, sometimes you're the windshield, sometimes you're the bug, and tonight, unfortunately, the Brooklyn Nets were the bug.
Yeah, it was good to see them at least compete in that fourth quarter. They went trailing by 19. They made it a game that 16-1 run, but when they got it close to 4, all of a sudden they stopped making shots again, and you knew Orlando, which I'll tell you what, how bad was their offense in the fourth quarter? You could see why they've lost 9 in a row.
Right.
As good as they were the first 3 quarters, they were that poor in the fourth quarter, and the Nets had their chances, but when it got close, Joe Harris had a couple of chances on 3-pointers, which could have made a 3-point game. Same thing with James Harden. Those misses right there with about 4 minutes left, I thought really killed them.
3-point shooting was poor tonight for Brooklyn, but it was the fourth quarter that got them back into this game. They started the fourth down 19, went on an 11-0 run, Frank, and that turned into a 15-1 run. As we see here, this was the pass that we both jumped up in the back watching.
You know, that is, I remember the pass from Dwayne Wade to LeBron James, a long, like, football pass. How good of a pass is that? And as poorly as he was playing, how about the emotion on the bench right there? And that's when they were still down by 8 points.
And here comes Bruce Brown with the reverse lay-in there. And he's going to get another layup here on another look from Harden over Mo Bamba, and Brown is pumped up as well. It led to another timeout for Steve Clifford and the Magic. And then Kyrie Irving, tough shot on the baseline.
Yeah, the Nets starting out on that 16-1 run. This is when they had their chance, when they were only down 6. But Vucevic hits a tough shot. That was the first field goal for Orlando after starting out 0 for 9 in the fourth quarter.
Fournier and Vucevic, Frank, decimated the Nets tonight, along with Gordon.
They really did. This Harden 3 gives them a chance. They're down 111-105. Then they fouled Vucevic. He made 1 of 2. After he missed the second, they get the rebound. Look what happens there with Aaron Gordon with the tap-in.
Yeah, Fournier falling away, misses the 3, but Gordon is there for the putback, and then he's there for the dagger as well with the 3. That put them up 117-108. They win it 121-113. James Harden started out 1 for 8, just 4 points in the first half, 15 points in the second half, 4 rebounds, 9 assists, falls short of a double-double. Aaron Gordon, unbelievable performance from Aaron Gordon after playing in his first game back against the Knicks last night at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
He comes back home and puts up 38.
Yeah, he was a matchup problem all night for the Brooklyn Nets. And how about the Orlando Magic? Losers of 9 straight. They'd come into the game having played last night in New York. They scored 93 points last night. They had 103 at the start of the fourth quarter. So I think if you're Steve Nash, you know that these games are going to happen throughout the course of a season. I think he's going to like the fact that they fought back and actually made it a game. But defensively, the Nets kind of had a lot of slippage tonight, especially that third quarter. 39 points for the Orlando Magic in that third quarter.
Yeah, in the third quarter, Kyrie Irving went off tonight for the Nets. 40 points for Kyrie. He, big time second quarter, and also kept the Nets in this one.
And also remember, Chris, he was the one early on in that third quarter that actually gave the Nets a lead.
Right.
After as badly as they had played in the first half, Kyrie gave them a lead. He had it going for a while. He was the one player that you can kind of count on. And I'll tell you what, his confidence right now, even though he didn't play the other night against the Indiana Pacers, his confidence doing everything, mid-range jumper, 3-pointer, getting to the basket, he's playing at a different level. And how tough is this shot?
I said that when he took it back there on the baseline. Take a look at his numbers.
Stealing your stuff.
43 points, 19 of 31 from the field, 6 boards and 4 assists. Something else we were talking about back there as we were watching this. Are you concerned at all? I know Kevin Durant is not in the lineup, missed his 14th straight game tonight, hasn't played since February 13th. But on the defensive side, Aaron Gordon, especially a big who could stretch the defense, is that concerning to you moving forward?
And also Vucevic, who's a big body who can shoot. I think for the Brooklyn Nets, I think a big issue with them, again, is navigating your way through an NBA regular season. You think about the win that they had the other night, down 16, they came back and won. And I'm not saying that they took the Orlando Magic lightly, but you cannot tell me that mentally you don't have a bit of a setback when you're playing a team that has lost 9 straight. They're on a back-to-back, so you maybe go into the game mentally not as into it as you should be. That's not an excuse. And Steve Nash is going to be upset about it, but I think defensively, there'll be some things. Sometimes it's good after a loss like this. You get in the film room, you bring the team in, and then you start going over things that you need to work on. Every once in a while, believe it or not, Chris, a loss isn't the worst thing.
No, it's not the worst thing, and you're not going to win every single game. And Frank and I aren't going to win every single post game either. I don't even know
What is that
makes
supposed to mean? We're losing this one?
Maybe.
We had a good one the other night.
We did. Is this a loss? We're going to step aside. Shooting practice, wide open threes, but they were missing them tonight.
And this Joe Harris three came after Kyrie had missed a shot and James Harden missed a three. So they had 4 trips when they were down 106, 100 to get back in that game. How about this one by Landry Shamet? Wide open, gets a bounce over the backboard. They just could not come up with that shot to kind of get them going, to make it maybe a one-possession game. It just didn't happen for them in the fourth quarter. And when you enter a fourth quarter down 19, that's part of the problem.
And this was one of the stretches here where the Nets missed 3 threes. Jeff Green, then Joe Harris got a couple of offensive rebounds, and then James Harden stepped back, and he missed one as well. But again, you take a look at the fourth quarter shot chart tonight, and you could see the Nets had their issues, especially in that last stanza from deep.
Yeah, and for the Orlando Magic, they had a season high in three-pointers tonight. The Nets could not they couldn't match them. And I think when you look at a guy like Joe Harris, there were plenty of opportunities tonight for him in the first half, certainly in the fourth quarter, where, you know, maybe you make that one, it gets you going, it gets the team going. It never happened.
And don't forget, Evan Fournier and Aaron Gordon, they've missed some time. They were probably chomping at the bit to get back out there. And they were on fire for the Orlando Magic tonight, who came in averaging 104 points per game, which is second to last in the league. And as Frank mentioned, they had 103 points at the end of the third quarter. They finished with 121. Let's get the final thoughts here from Coach Nash on this team's loss tonight.
Coach, just from your perspective in such an eventful game and the ebb and flow, what's your biggest takeaway from this one that gets away from you in the end?
Yeah, a few things. I think, first of all, you know, maybe we weren't sharp enough to start the game. Attention to detail wasn't quite there. We got behind, and we really played hard, fought our way back into the game. You know, the other hand, they made a lot of shots, and you know, we weathered it. We gave ourselves a chance. When we cut it back down to 6 or less late, we had a lot of good opportunities, a lot of wide open shots that just didn't fall. So, you know, if I'm being super critical, I think we could have started better and been a little sharper there. But having said that, I was proud of the way they fought back. Weathered an incredible shooting night by the Magic, and just our shots didn't fall when it counted.
Knowing that you have such great, you know, shooters, do you kind of chuck this up as one of those nights, as much basketball as you've played and as much basketball as you've seen? Is there just nights like this?
For sure. I mean, you know, yeah, I guess 21 of 40 for 3 from them is outstanding. And, you know, that was in many ways the story of the game. If we had been maybe a little sharper to start, maybe we could have cut that down a little bit. But perhaps it just was one of those nights. But you always want to look at it and take something away from it and say, you know, what can we do better and how can we improve?
Alex Schiffer, The Athletic.
Hey, Steve, you left James in after he picked up his third foul and then again with his fourth. Just how tempted were you to pull him, and what made you roll the dice and keep him in there both times?
Yeah, it was just one of those nights where it wasn't going for us, but we weren't necessarily flowing. So you have to roll the dice a little bit to give yourself a chance. And, you know, it wasn't to be, but we didn't get, you know, bitten by leaving him in the game. But I just thought sometimes you have to take risks. And, you know, if we were going to try to come back in this game, we needed him in there for a more sustained period.
Tom Dowd, BrooklynNets.com.
Steve, you talked about weathering their storm a little bit. What did you see early in the fourth quarter as you guys kind of chopped that lead down a little bit?
Great activity. Defended. They didn't score much for a long stretch in the fourth. You know, we had a lot of energy and fight and fire. You know, gave ourselves a chance. Like I said, cut it from, I don't think it was 18 or 20 down to 6 or so. And, you know, I think, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 really good open threes that we just didn't knock down. So, but they fought and got ourselves back into it and gave ourselves a chance, but we let it get out of hand a little bit and perhaps it was too much.
Brian Lewis, New York Post.
The defensive activity in the fourth quarter would imply that you guys still had your legs about you. In your mind, the struggles from shooting, did you think fatigue played a role in that, or was it just make or miss league and you just missed shots that you normally would hit?
I think James and Joe felt fatigue. They had a heavy burden against Indiana, so I think those two for sure were, probably felt some fatigue in their legs. But we had a great energy and activity from a lot of guys, and sometimes you can play really, really hard and be really, really active, but that doesn't mean your legs are going to be there on your shot. So, but that I thought Nick was great activity, Bruce. Great. Everyone kind of chipped in that fourth quarter stretch there where they just was a really active group that really bothered them. But, a little short, I think, because of the first quarter, whatever we gave up, 35 points in the first quarter and just weren't really sharp.
Appreciate your time, Coach.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Let's go back to the threes. 40 for Orlando tonight, 10 of 37 for Brooklyn.
Yeah, it's so hard to make up those 33 points when that's how much you're getting outscored by beyond the three-point line. By the way, how about the combination tonight of Evan Fournier, Aaron Gordon, and Vucevic? They combined for 90.
Isola with you. The Nets went down to Orlando, winners of 14 of their last 15 and winners of 6 straight, but they ran into a red-hot shooting Orlando team. Let's get the final thoughts now from Ryan Ruocco and Sarah Kustok from Brooklyn.
Well, thanks a lot, Chris. These nights, they happen in the NBA, right? Where no matter how good a team is, no matter how hot they are, how cold the other team is, you can lose on any given night. And when one team shoots over 50% from three and hits 21 of them, and the other team shoots 27% from three, usually the team who had the hot shooting night's going to win, and that's what happened in Orlando tonight.
Yeah, and I think we would have guessed if we saw those numbers that it would have been the opposite team shooting as efficiently as they did. But give Orlando credit. They played last night against the Knicks here in New York. They got back home, and they brought a high level of energy, of focus, and they were just really efficient really on both ends of the floor. And for the Nets, sometimes it's just not your night, and particularly down the stretch once they made that push and once we saw a little bit of juice and some more chemistry created, they got incredible looks, and they got looks for shooters that are normally knockdown players, and they just didn't go in. And I think that really was the story of the night in a lot of facets of sometimes the ball's just not going to go in for you. It's not your night. And for the Magic, they finally find a way to break a streak. And on a losing streak that is that long, a team can always be dangerous, especially when they return home.
And I do think back to what Steve Nash said before the game. He said, hey, when he was presented with some positive defensive numbers that Brooklyn's had during this 15-game stretch, he said, we need to continue to play with a chip on our shoulder like we're an underdog in order to have a chance to be good at the defensive end. We saw that in the fourth quarter. They turned it on. But because they didn't hit the shots, it wasn't enough. But maybe a little bit of a lesson, Sarah, regardless of the opponent, you got to come out of the gates with that mentality.
Yeah, and I think for Brooklyn, they have been so focused throughout the course of this stretch the last couple weeks. And so it is natural at times to have a bit of a letdown. And I think we saw some of that in just the idea of always thinking, okay, we're going to be able to get this back. At some point, this team is going to cool off, or at some point, we're going to start to get hot. And none of those things ended up coming together in the same manner as you would expect. And, Kyrie Irving, a sparkling night of what he did on the offensive side. But we've been coming out a lot of these games saying, 5 players in double figures, 6 players in double figures didn't just happen this evening. And I think it's a learning experience, areas of which you grow. And for the Nets, this is a long season, and we've seen a lot of winning, but anticipate that they're going to get back to that when they have a chance to see a very hot team right now, and a team that's going to come in hungry in the Washington Wizards behind Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, Harden against Westbrook, Bradley Beal, the NBA's leading scorer. Going to be a really fun matchup on Sunday night here at Barclays Center between the Nets and the Wizards as we send things back to you in the studio.
Game show, we take a look at the leading scorers from this one tonight. And as we look at these leading scorers, Frank, let's discuss the Magic as we get to the trade deadline. Do you see any Magic players with trade value?
Well, one guy who didn't play tonight, Terrence Ross, is a player that's always drawn interest. You can bring him off your bench as a backup, and obviously as a six-man, get a lot of offense out of him. Evan Fournier is one, and you've always heard about Aaron Gordon being out there, so we'll see what happens. I think there'll be a lot of moves between tonight and obviously the March 25th trade deadline.
All right, Frank, perhaps the Magic will make a deal or two with some of the teams battling for playoff spots in the Eastern Conference. One club that might consider adding at the deadline is the up-and-down Celtics. They hosted Sacramento tonight, and Frank, we take a look at the scoreboard and we see Boston lost by 11 to Sacramento. De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield led the way for Sacramento. Jaylen Brown had 19 and 11 in the loss for the Celtics.
It's really been a disappointing season for the Boston Celtics. The Knicks are ahead of them, the Atlanta Hawks, some of these young and up-and-coming teams. And Boston, which made it to the conference finals just in September, October in the bubble, look at where they sit today.
20 and 21 as we take a look at the Eastern Conference. The Bulls and Pacers on the outside looking in right now as well. But you see the Sixers and the Nets. If the Nets won tonight down in Orlando, Frank, they would have had sole possession of first place. But it's going to be an interesting stretch run with the top three teams here in the East.
Absolutely, because we know that the Philadelphia 76ers, Embiid is still out. Who knows how long he'll be out. And Milwaukee's a team to look out for because there was that stretch there. They weren't playing well. Drew Holiday was in COVID protocol for about 2 weeks. He's back. They're playing better. Giannis looks like an MVP candidate, and they just added P.J. Tucker, who's going to be an important player for that team. So it's almost as if Milwaukee, with the way that they played in the bubble, and they were not good, it's almost like everyone kind of wants to write them off. Don't do that so quickly. Giannis is playing really well. Drew Holiday will make a difference. And they're still in a position because they got that first-round pick back where they could make another deal.
All right, Frank, moments ago, Bruce Brown met the media. Let's get the thoughts of Brown on this loss down in Orlando.
Hey, Bruce, tough to lose any game, but given the way you guys battled back, how tough was this one, letting it slip, with some good looks late?
Definitely tough. We fought out there, but we should never let them get up that much. They were hitting tough shots, so you got to give kudos to them.
Communication in the locker room after the game, in terms of the way you guys sum this one up.
It was just a tough one. We battled back. We played hard. We tried to fight back and get back in it, but we just came up short tonight.
Blake Andrews, ESPN.
Bruce, Steve had said that he sort of thinks you guys need to constantly take on this identity of being the underdogs defensively. Do you agree with that assessment, needing to get into that sort of mindset repeatedly?
Yeah, definitely. I think we just need to go out there and play with energy, talk more, communicate on defense, and just know what we're doing, know our personnel, and we'll be fine. As we know tonight, teams got to be perfect to beat us. So if we lock up on the defensive end, we win.
Thank you.
Ryan Lewis, New York Post.
Do you think there's a lot of the looks that you guys got were the looks that you wanted? I mean, I know it's
Yeah, definitely. I don't know what Joe's was, but he missed wide open threes. He never missed wide open threes. So it was just a tough night for us.
Alex Schiffer, The Athletic.
Bruce, kind of going off that just their hot shooting, how much do you attribute that to them just having one of those nights where, everything's going in, and how much you attribute to some of your guys' defensive issues?
Probably a few of them defensive issues, but I mean, they're going to have to be perfect, and they know teams going to have to be perfect to beat us. They were just hitting shots, tough shots. I've never seen Aaron Gordon hit shots like that in my life, so it's a tough night.
Matt Brooks, Nets Daily.
Bruce, was there a general message in the locker room tonight, or was it let's just keep it moving and just forget about this one?
Yeah, just keep it pushing. We got one on Wednesday. We haven't beat.
In what aspects of tonight's game do you feel like the game was lost for you guys as a group?
It's the NBA. If you dig a hole, down 20 to anybody early, it's gonna be hard to climb back out. So give them credit. I mean, they shot the hell out of it. Have a great, unbelievable shooting night. I think a lot of that can be attributed to us kind of giving them a couple easy looks early in the game. They're NBA players, they're good players, get their confidence going, and feel good about themselves the rest of the night. So it makes the rim look a lot bigger, and give them credit.
You guys shot 10 for 37 from three-point range. I know you can only speak for you, but is fatigue a factor in, kind of off nights and like this?
Those are great looks. It's basketball. It's how it works sometimes. Sometimes they go in, sometimes they don't. We're riding with, all those looks that we got tonight.
We were in the game. I mean, for as well as they shot too, we were only down 5 throughout until they blew it up, went on that run. But we were right there for a majority of the game, and they made that little run at the end. Just came down to getting stops, and we couldn't do that. They were making everything. So that's all it really is.
Growing up, we had a saying, mark it on the ice, and when the ice melts, forget about it. And that's exactly what the Nets have to do with this one. They have another game on Sunday against the Washington Wizards. What is it, the 15th time they're playing?
I think so. They keep losing to them.
But they could go out Sunday, have a better performance, and get this taste out of it.
Yeah, and this schedule is tough because ever since they got back from the All-Star break, they're playing every other day. And they're going to be playing on Sunday. Then before you know it, they'll be in Portland on Tuesday night. That is not an easy turnaround for them. But once again, when you lose at the three-point line by 33 points, you're just not going to win the game. So I think for Steve Nash, it's kind of a good time to reset a little bit, really watch a lot of film, look at what you want to do differently defensively. Because remember, Bradley Beal, Russell Westbrook. Westbrook is putting up a ton of triple-doubles, and Bradley Beal always seems to be scoring in the 40s. That'll be a tough matchup, and we've seen already what Washington can do to the Brooklyn Nets. They've beaten them twice.
We heard Ryan Ruocco say it. We heard Landry Shamet say it. We heard Bruce Brown say it.